Fine.
I think we're all right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, like you said, we've been doing this together for quite some time, and I have to say that he's really the best employee I've ever had. He's just so good. And when he first started, I'm like, maybe I should come back and not work quite so hard and, not have a full-time person. And I'm so glad that we decided to really go for it and keep building our client list because he's so good. And I do a lot of the design and color choices, and then he does almost entirely all the building. And it's just like we have a really good way of working together, and it's fabulous. Riley had asked why it's important, and I have a couple of quotes. I've been on lots of panels, as you can imagine, at BoucherCon and stuff, and I got a couple of quotes from people I've heard, and I really like them. One person said, "If you only grow your audience on social media, it's like building a house on rented land." And I love that because when Riley said the website is the hub of your online existence, just think about how often you post stuff to Facebook and your fans don't see it. It's gone down their feed, or it's all about metrics and all that kind of stuff. You're just not necessarily being seen. So you want to have a website where you can control the message. Joe Brosnan, he's a senior editor at Grove Atlantic. He was on a panel with me a couple of years ago, or I was on a panel with him. And his quote that I love is, "Pay close attention to how you present yourself online, your social media, your website, your newsletters. Keep your branding consistent, stay active and connected." And that's what we aim to help people do. So those are two quotes that I really like. We're not social media experts. We're not going to be talking about that very much, but I do want to say that we obviously put links to your social media on your websites. And if you keep it up and you're engaging and all that, you can grow those social media profiles. And we think it's really important, but we do think the website is the most important thing you can have. And I think that's kind of the beginning of it all. So your first step would be to create, if you're starting out new, or even if you have a website now, look at your website, and we'll talk a little bit about what you can do if you already have one. But create a website, and then we're also going to be covering newsletters and how important they are. So we'll get started with some website basics. Your domain name, you always should have your name if at all possible. And these days it's really hard to get your own name because so many websites are gone or domains are gone. We just started a site for an author a couple of weeks ago where her name was still available, which was incredible to me. And she wrote me an email. I bought it immediately for her. And she wrote me and she said, "But I wanted it to have the word books on the end." And I said, "Do you know how lucky you are to have your domain name, your name, your first name, last name, all by itself.com? Believe me, this is what you want to do." And then we also bought it with the word books on the end, because if you have more than one domain name pointing to your website, that just increases your SEO. It's better for Google. So if you need to buy a domain, there's lots of companies that do it. We use GoDaddy because they're relatively inexpensive. They're easy to use. So you want to use a domain registration company. You can register it for up to 10 years. And that is just your domain name itself, the registration. And then the content of your website, once you build your website, that's where you're hosted. So your domain registration and your domain hosting are two very different things. And Riley's going to take over from here.
The analogy that we like about this is that if your domain name is your address, hosting is where you're building your house. It's the land, the property itself. In usual cases, if you're using a DIY website builder, you're usually going to be hosted on a public large server like AWS or like GoDaddy. At Zuni, we host all of our clients on a private server that is through GoDaddy, but it is a segmented server just for us. It allows us to have a lot more control of our clients' data, and we aren't affected by larger service outages that can sometimes happen. On your site and hosting, usually if you're hiring someone to be your host or if you're looking into it yourself, and that includes backups usually of the content of your site, and security, SSL, making sure that you have that little lock next to your domain name when people are looking at your website. These are usually worked into your hosting cost. Platforms. There are hundreds of do-it-yourself website builders out there. Wix, Bluehost, Squarespace, even companies like BookBub are jumping into the author website market. With the increase of AI, there's going to be less and less website builders and maybe even more website generators. Who knows how well that's going to work, but we are seeing more of that come around as well. There's obviously still a lot of work needed to build a good functional website, even when you're doing it yourself. But these companies do try and make it as easy and as approachable as possible. But if you want to not worry about that at all, that's where a company like Zuni comes into it. We run sites that still are on bare bones HTML. That kind of comes with just the age of our company. We have hundreds of sites that are still based on that simple platform, but we build today within WordPress. It's the most open source platform out there, and it allows us to create very custom sites with added support from our custom plugins and themes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Okay. So what I usually have a little list of things that I think are the most basic things about website design. And I am going to go over some of those, and then Riley's also going to give you some examples of what we're talking about. I think the most important thing to me is a really well-organized website. We still see, even though author websites have been around now for almost 30 years, you still see some websites that are just horribly organized, or they have way too many choices in the navigation, or everything you can think of is on the homepage all crammed together. It's really hard to find things. So our most important things when we're building a website is to keep it well organized, have a concise navigation, and well-chosen redundancies so that you can get to different places in different ways. Keep it up to date. When Google searches you, they're looking at the homepage first. And so you always want to keep your homepage, first of all, incredibly up to date, but also update it at least, once a week, a few times a month, because the more you update it, the more you're searched and the more you go up higher in search engines. Make sure when you're keeping up to date means getting rid of, coming October 25th, and it still says that right now in the middle of November. So you're watch for those kind of things. Check your buy links every now and then, because that very often they'll change. Like all of a sudden you'll click on the Amazon button or even the bookshop button, and they will have changed it for whatever reason. So definitely, at least maybe quarterly, at least go through all the buttons on your website and make sure they still work. It's very important. One of the things we'll talk about a little bit more about later is branding. And it's kind of like what the editor at Grove Atlantic said. Brand across all your platforms. If you do, say, 3 or 4 social media platforms, make sure that you're using the same colors, you're using the same style, you're using the same font. There's a vibe that you want to be putting across so that people know what you're writing. And so it's really important to keep that going across. Have everything on your website well edited, no typos, make it look professional. Don't do too many cutesy things. Even if you write cozies, you don't have to be too cutesy, because cozies are great books. Another thing that a lot of people don't have is Google Analytics. It's really easy to sign up for it if you have a Gmail or Google account. That means you're putting analytics code into the back end of your website, and you can then find out where did the people, let's just say you had 20 hits on your website in one day. Where did those people come from? Did they go to you through another author's website? Did they come to you from social media? Did they come to you from Google? You can find all that out. And then you can find out what pages on your site are most popular. It's really, really interesting stuff. So we highly suggest that you use Google Analytics. And then a big thing that Riley's going to show you some examples of in a second here is, and this is what so many people still don't do, your website needs to look good on a phone and on an iPad. And it needs to be responsive so that when you're shrinking your window, your content shrinks with it so that you don't lose anything. So many people don't really understand that you use your browsers. Everybody uses their browser differently, or they look at your website on a different place. Do you want to show some examples of that?
Sure. Just adding
Yeah.
on to that. Going back for a second, another benefit of Google Analytics is that you can see what devices people are
Oh, right.
viewing your website on as well. So you can see what percentage of people are looking at your site on your phone and on their phone. And that makes a big difference. What if links are a little bit too hard to click with with the tip of your index finger and stuff like that? It's really important to keep that in mind. And yeah, not only mobile examples as I'm about to show you, but we both work on Mac laptops with extended screens. And we find all the time when we send a website to one of our clients, they'll come back to us and be like, well, you know, this, and this are really small, or this is really large. And we find that, well, first of all, when we first send our sites to the clients, they aren't completely responsive right away. But we find that people are looking at their sites on hugely different scales than we work on them. So either they have them on their large screen, taking up the entire thing, which isn't necessarily the way websites are designed to be viewed, or they have it shrunk way down so that they can have it in the tiny corner of their screen while other things are going on. Everyone uses their computers differently, not to mention looking at things on their tablets and phones as well. So bear with me. I'm going to start a little screen share here. I will hopefully stay on your screen here though. Welcome to a page on our website. Welcome everyone. We have some wonderful examples to show you today, but as far as mobilization goes, here's an example of one of our clients, Patricia Smiley, and this is the intro, the homepage of her site. And really quickly, when you go to the mobile version, you want to make sure that you are getting that exact same information on the mobile version of the site. You don't want anything to change as far as what people might see in one place or another. So as you see here, the contents will stay the same. And then in addition, and I think this will translate through, maybe, as people stretch and move their screen, you want to make sure that it looks good at every single one of these widths. Because again, everyone uses their screen completely differently. Another example, wonderful client Marjorie McCown and her website mobilized. Another example of a larger website with a little bit more books and information, also mobilized in a way where it's easy. The buttons are big enough for people to get their thumb on there. And just the small details like that that make sure that the websites are accessible from every angle. All right.
All right. We move on to SEO.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of questions today might come back to this little acronym SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization, which we can answer questions about, but there are going to be limits here because with billions of websites online, rising to the top of a search engine is pretty hard, close to impossible. So along with doing the basics of SEO that come with a website, the name of your domain, adding basic keywords, title, descriptions, alt tags, everything important that goes basically back to the very building blocks of websites. Your goal beyond all those things should be building a clear, concise website with a clear navigation, unique, interesting content about you and your books. And then to link to your website from other places as well. Your publisher's website, your Amazon page, your social media. You want to be creating this web that is also surrounding your website and allows search engines to come back to that source from multiple places. So among all these things that you can do for SEO, and there's tons of nitty-gritty details that I'm not going to go into as well. The most important thing is time. Your site needs to be active for weeks for search engines to even crawl it alone, and to index everything properly. So if you publish your website tomorrow, don't expect it to be at the top of the Google page by Monday. There's a lot more work and time that goes into it. Another really big asterisk on this subject is unfortunately the rise of AI in our everyday lives. And I can't speak to this too much, but search engine optimization is changing rapidly based off of not the traditional fundamental ways that it's worked in the past and relying a little bit more on your location, things that you've searched before, and all this metadata that your browser is collecting about you that influences what it shows to you on your search engine. And that's really important to keep in mind because if I Google your name from here in Denver, Colorado, and you Google your name from your community in wherever you live in California or wherever it may be, we're going to get completely different results from that. And that's really important to think about when you're marketing yourself onto these search engines and trying to get really nitty gritty and specific about it.
Okay, good.
Back to
That
you.
was good. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about site layout and content because obviously this is something that's very important. We're going to give you a couple more examples because I think a lot of people there's so many ways to do a great website. There's no one way to do something. And one of the decisions, the biggest decisions that we talk to authors about is how many books they have. If you only have one, let's say we have one client, Allison Brennan, she has 50 to 60 books or something. And then we have and then we have, of course, a lot of clients with 10 books or whatever, or like 3 different series or 1 different series, or 1 book, like they're a debut author, or people who are pre-published and their manuscript might be being sent out by an agent, or they're just looking for a place to publish it, or they're trying to decide whether to self-publish. And we build a different site depending on what they want and what they have. And so when a client of ours has just 1 book, a debut book, we often suggest that they do a single page site because what that basically means is everything is on the home page. It just scrolls down. Riley's going to give you a couple of examples when we screen share in a second. Um, but um, those are super fun to create because they have 1 book, so there's 1 subject, and so we can focus the design of the site on the way that one book is, what that book is about, what its landscape is, what kind of whether it's a thriller or a mystery or a cozy or what. We focus the site to look like that, and we can do it all in 1 page, which is really fun. And I think we have some examples, I think, of both single page sites and then also a couple of what we call pre-published people. We'll show you a couple of those too, because they're fun. And like Riley said, the longer you're online, the higher you rise in Google. So even if you aren't published, it's wonderful to get a website up, even if it's a very simple website, which you'll see. I think one of the ones he'll show you is quite, it's very small, but your domain is already being searched on Google. So you're right, even if you don't get a book sale or you decide not to publish it for 6 months or a year or whatever, you'll be ahead of the game and you'll have a place to have your social media links and all that.
So I'm going to show you a few examples of this, and these are really great sites to design. Not that larger sites with 3 or 4 series aren't super fun to design, but single debut authors, pre-pubbed, or just single booked authors who are just waiting to write another one. We can theme things so specifically. And so this is an example. This is a Denver-based author, Sky. And I'm going to scroll down this page and you'll be able to see how we've been able to carry the theme of her book forward to basically every single component on this page. And again, this is only a single page. If I'm using the navigation here, we're going to stay all within the same area here.
It's simple, it's clean, and it matches exactly what she's written.
And if you're a debut author, like another one of
No,
our
no, no,
clients,
pre-published.
sorry, pre-published,
But
it's helping you sell the book in an incredibly good way.
can you refresh that though, so that they can see the cool animation that goes on there? Because we have a really funny story about the body that comes up into the pool here. So,
Um,
yeah. And then you scroll down and
so an example of a completed manuscript book that is trying to be sold, which we've done a lot of sites like this and have helped people sell their books.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, a long time ago, a million years ago, I did a site for a woman who was pre-published. And when she was bought by a big publisher, they asked if she wanted to keep the font I had used on the website for her book cover. It was really neat for me to have them do that.
Here's another example of another one of our repub sites. And we also do these temporary covers for our clients, in order to give kind of that physical representation of what could be.
Yeah.
And then another example of one of my favorite published debut authors who was at the last BoucherCon. And this site was a ton of fun to theme. She had a lot of ideas as far as what she wanted readers and users to experience as they're going down the page. And we were more than happy to work with her creativity. And Lee is a wonderful person to work with and as a writer.
It's fun. It's a fun site.
It is a very fun site. All right.
Okay. Should I go back to the basics? Okay, so as far as the basics of what we have on pretty much every site that we build, you always want to put your social media icons at the top. We put them at the top of the page over on the right, and they scroll down with the website. And we also put them in the footer, so there's more than one way to get to them. The home page, you need to be really clear with your branding. What kind of book are you writing? You want to draw people in right away. You might have been able to tell from a couple of those examples that we really try and build the site so that right away when you get on there, you know what kind of books they write and you know what you're going to be getting on the site. On the homepage, we always say the latest or upcoming book, a short bio, because that's good SEO for the homepage. If you have more than one book, we have a carousel of your books along the bottom of the page. We usually ask the client to pick out their very favorite pieces of like review blurbs, pieces of praise, either about them as authors or about specific books, either way. And then always a newsletter sign up on the homepage. So that's basically what we always want on home. Bio, you want a full bio. And I love it when people write a bio in a way that expresses them and what they write about, because so many of them are just kind of boring and too straightforward. And you want to be expressive in your bio. I mean, you're a writer. You should be able to do that.
I'm going to put some examples on the page here as Maddie continues talking.
Okay. So we also highly suggest most publicists will ask for this, that to have a 150 word, 150 to 200 word bio for press so that they can really easily, like if you have a long bio, they want to be able to just grab, say the first 100 words or 150 words. And, if they're going to write about you on a blog or they're going to even, put you in a newspaper or something like that. I don't know if that even do that anymore, but you want to have a press bio. And then, did you want to go here with books? The book section, of course, is incredibly important. We do something called a series page, and we don't have to, like if you wanted a separate page for each of your books, but like this is Bruce Borgos is a relatively new client of ours, well, a couple years. And we put his series with the most recent book, which just came out at the top. And then you can see as Riley's scrolling down, we have the one at the top in the buy buttons as description. We have a little bit of praise for each book. And that way that, a lot of people, I know if I'm reading a series, I want to start at the beginning. So these pages make it really clear, how the series goes. Of course, if you don't write series, then you have pages that are standalone pages, and Riley can show you some examples of that. But basically you want to put your title in an H1, and you'll know what that means if you build your own site. You want to have the synopsis. You very often want the ISBN or release date. You want buy buttons to external booksellers and your choice. And, if you're on Amazon, you really should have an affiliate account. So if you don't, make sure and get one. You want to have praise. Make sure you check for typos really carefully. It's amazing how many typos there are on websites. And then there's so many different ideas that you could do. Let's move on from Bruce. There's so many different ideas you can do. You can have you can have excerpts. You can have do background research that you have, photos, lists of your presentations. Shane's a really cool example of a site that we built sometime in the last, and I guess earlier this year. And we really had fun with it because look at his beautiful covers. So it made it really fun to do something very bright. Yeah, it was really fun to do that. And we just made it, like we said, we make it match the author. That's the funnest thing for us, is to ask the author a lot of questions so that we can make a website match them.
I'm going to show example just really quick here that she touched on lightly, yet is so important, and I see all the time on other author websites, is your link targets. When you are linking within your site, you want people to stay within your site, the same tab, like I am here within Shane's website. But then as soon as I click on a buy link, oh, this wasn't a good one to go to because these aren't available yet.
Yeah.
But if I go to Amazon, you see I open a new tab. And if I close Amazon, here I am right back at his site. Within any website builder out there, if they're worth their money, link target as far as opening in a new window will be an option. And that is imperative to making sure that the users who are scrolling through the different components of your website
don't lose you.
And they stay in the contents that they want to stay in.
And then some other things you want to make sure to have on your website. If you do a lot of events, not everybody does, but if you do a lot of events, you want to have an events page, keep it updated, really important. And the nice thing about WordPress, and I'm sure a lot of the website builders, you can just remove that page. If you don't have any events right now, you can remove that page and then put it back up when you have events again. So it's not like it has to be a dead section of your site. And then, of course, you want to have the contact page, which is so important. You want to have a way for them to contact you. And some authors, they don't want to be emailed directly, and that's okay. You can say, but if you don't have an email on your site, we always suggest say, contact me through my Facebook page, or check me out on Substack or something, so that they have a way to reach out to you if they want to. But most people, I would say 90% of our authors at least have a way for their fans and readers to contact them with an email address. I would, if you had an agent, we would put the agent on there. We would put their publicist if they have that. Again, you can repeat any of your active social media instead of them just being icons on the side. And then you definitely want to have a link to your newsletter. And we're gonna segue into newsletter stuff now. But
I'll pause you there for a
oh,
second. Oh, just to
go for
talk
it.
about within the design that she was just talking
Yeah.
about, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen for 1 second. Redundancy within your design. Um, just as a really simple example, when you're on any of our sites and you're going through the navigation here, if you click on books, it's going to get you to the all books page. Um, there it is. But also within that nav, we have all books. This is just an example of a simple redundancy to make sure that users are always having multiple ways to get to where they want to go. When someone visits your website, you want to make sure that they're getting to their destination within 2 clicks or less, whether they want to buy your book, they want to see your bibliography, everything you've written, whether they want to send you an email or sign up for your newsletter. All of those things should just be a few clicks away, if not only one. Especially if you're looking to sell your latest book, you want that buy link right up there when they open the page to link externally, like I said. But it's all about creating, again, this web within your own website that helps people not get confused. And it's about organization, but it's also just about making things available and accessible.
Show them an example since you're on Allison's site, about the pop-ups for your book, the book buy buttons, because that's another way to do it instead of opening a whole new tab. Right? Isn't hers a good example of that?
Her earlier books, which we don't have specific pages for, we simply have options like this. So 1, 2, and we're on her publisher website in order to buy the book.
Yeah, good example.
With whoever she's published with, multiple.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. I wanted to do another quote. Apparently, I like to do, quote people who are smarter than I am. So there's a woman named Jane Friedman. If you don't follow her, she's a really, really good longtime publishing expert. She has great newsletters. They come on the weekend. They cover all sorts of different types of things. And she had a quote of something I read relatively recently that I thought was wonderful. I'm going to read it to you. Despite its everlasting value, email marketing newsletters remains a missed opportunity for a lot of authors, and it's by far the #1 overlooked tool for book sales and marketing. When authors invest in building their platform, they often prioritize social media, but social media is out of one's control and ephemeral. Email is not. Being able to directly reach your readers or your most engaged audience is a powerful capability that rewards your time and investment. And we really, of course, agree with that. So Riley's going to talk just a little bit about newsletters and so many different ways to do them.
Yeah. But before I jump into that, Terry, thank you so much for you're kind of
Oh, way to go, Terry.
summarizing some of these points that we're making. So if anyone wants to look back and if they're taking notes, Terry's taking good notes. So newsletters. We build a lot of the newsletters for our clients, and we also they just send them off to build their own and link to everything to their site. This is your opportunity, as Maddie said, to engage with your readers directly and drive them to your site. This can be done through a number of platforms, notably MailerLite, MailChimp, and Substack. Those are the 3 that we work within. On your website itself, you want a sign up. Well, first of all, going back, you don't want to do this through your own email. You want to do this through a program that can send these out in bulk, and most importantly, track statistics like your opening percentages, and the different click maps showing you where people are engaging with your newsletter and giving you a way to manage your newsletter list outside of a contact folder. These tools are super powerful. There's free versions of all of them. Substack, you can even get paid for if you're good enough at it. And yeah, so as far as newsletters on your site, as far as the signups go, again, redundancy. You want to link to your newsletter on every single page and even a pop-up if you want.
But you don't have to have a pop-up if you don't want to, because some people don't like them, but a lot of people do.
Yes. And I'm going to come back here. Oh, there's a pop-up right there. So here is one of our other clients, Audrey Lee. Sorry, the sun is kind of in my face here, but
There you go.
so that pop-up you just saw, this is an example of a pop-up that is timed. There's also versions where they'll pop up when a user has exit intent, meaning their cursor leaves the page in order to do something else. The pop-up will come up then. There you go. There's the time. But also because that, in addition to that pop-up, we also have newsletter right here in the nav, and you'll see here an example of a certain type of reader magnet that I'll talk about in a second. And where was another? Newsletter examples themselves. Let me go back to here. Sorry, I'm moving kind of quickly. I will catch you all up in a second. So speaking of Audrey, this is an example of her newsletter. Important things about a newsletter. First of all, not too long. Most people are using Gmail these days and other email clients, but Gmail specifically will click your message if it is too long or has too much data in it, and will require readers to click to view more, which not everyone will know
Or will want to do.
or will want to do. So it depends on the media. So I can't give you like a specific word count, but just be conscious of that and send yourself a test. View the newsletter before you're sending it out to your hundreds or more than that or less than that amount of people. Sending consistency. If you have a list from when you wrote a book back in 2018, unfortunately, that list is not going to be good anymore. There's parts of it that might still be all right, but if you take a list that is more than 2 years old, since when you've been given permission from these readers to
Engage with them.
you, the companies like MailerLite, MailChimp, and Substack will flag the account because it's basically pinging these mail servers and seeing if they're responsive. And if too many of them come back unresponsive, then these companies are shouldering a undeliverable amount of emails that are coming from you, and that can get them reported. It can spam complaints, and all these things are bad for that company and therefore bad for you. So if you have an older list, you either want to parse through it manually, if you can do that, or there's companies like NeverBounce, all one word, NeverBounce, that can actually go through your lists and tell you what parts and percentages of it they believe are deliverable, which really help. And we use that a lot with our clients that are coming back with a previous list.
You want to say that Substack makes it a little bit easier, though.
We found that Substack is a little more lenient than other companies.
A lot more.
Not that we would recommend that, because again, if I signed up for a newsletter list more than 2 years ago, it is about regaining that permission. You know, we've all unsubscribed from a huge amount of emails in our lives, I'm sure, and we want to make sure that those lists aren't becoming, you know, kind of tattered with old email addresses. The content. You want to be showing your humor, show your personality. If anyone knows one of our clients, Carter Wilson, he does his own newsletters, but they're always hilarious and fantastic. And I'm sure he sells lots of books from them. But since I'm here on Audrey's, I'm sure some of you have been reading it already. She's incredibly personal and funny in her newsletters as well. She models her newsletter off of Carter, I believe. And we build this one for her through MailerLite. And you'll see as I'm scrolling, we have very clear sections that are consistent each time that she sends. So not only does that help it organizationally, but it gives her readers something to expect when they come back to it the next time, something to look forward to. And then in this newsletter, we introduced a bit of a reader magnet for Audrey, which is gaining access to a specific part of their website from signing up for the newsletter. We do this for a few clients. And it's basically just coming up with book extras that can be given once people do sign up for your newsletter. So going back to this page for Audrey, pretty simply, Are you already subscribed, or do you want to be subscribed? If you're already subscribed, you enter your email right here and you enter the Labyrinth.
Don't show anybody. They haven't signed up.
Well, you got to sign up for me to scroll down from here on out. But it's the example. Kate Carlisle is another one of our really big cozy authors who has her secret room, which works phenomenally well for her and all of the extras that she wants to give to her readers. And this is a really good web-based way to bring people onto your newsletter that you can market anywhere on your social media, on your website, wherever. And also asking people to forward your newsletter to other people. This will prompt them to sign up in order to read more about you. All right. So,
Anything else you want to talk about there? I think you covered most things, but reader magnets are really a big deal. I mean, they have been for a couple of years now. You know, it's just giving away like a scene that you deleted out of a book, you know, sign up for my newsletter and you get to read the scene between so and so and so and so, or you know, a recipe of some sort, or I mean, there's just so many different ideas. And if you sign up for people's newsletters and go onto their sites, you'll see a lot of those. And it's a good way to get people to sign up. One of the things I want to talk about, and we're actually starting to wrap up and we can get to your questions, but I want to talk about branding really quick, just so that you really get a sense of what we're talking about. You want to give your website visitors a clear understanding of what you write and who you are. And so the way that we do that when we work with clients, and you can do this on your own when you're planning your own website and your own social media and everything, but what we ask people is, you know, what's your genre? Do you write mysteries? Do you write thrillers? Do you write psychological suspense? Figure out the theme and the feel of your books. And, you know, you might write more than one type of book. We have many clients who write, like we have a lot of clients who write both children and thrillers. And so it's just kind of fun. It's like, it's a fun challenge for us to find a theme that unites those things. We're actually about to do a website where she writes both romances and thrillers. And this is going to be kind of fun to work on. But basically, I ask the kind of questions I like to ask people and that you can ask yourself are, what do you want potential reading? How do you want potential readers to perceive you and your books? Do you want them to feel like it's going to be scary? Is it going to be cozy? Is it going to be dark? Is it going to be historical? Is it going to be about ghosts? I mean, there's so many things that you can ask about your writing, and then you can make that part of the way your design looks. And then again, you carry it over the colors, you pick, you know, color charts, a style of imagery, a certain kind of font that you like to use, an animation. You build your identity by asking yourself lots of questions like that. So I think that brand is one of the most important things that you want to start thinking about before you build, or if you're changing over your site, or if you want to start a social media campaign, think about that brand first. Another thing that you want to pull into your branding is promotional stuff. Like I do a lot of bookmark and business card design, ads for social media, you know, ads for Facebook and stuff. And again, you want to carry your colors, your fonts, everything into those things, so that if you're at a conference, you're handing out bookmarks, when they go to they see your website on there and they go to your website, when they get home, it matches their bookmarks. It's just pretty. I like things to be pretty. I like things to match. So those things are very important.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing we kind of think is fun to talk about is, what do we hate on some websites? I have some pet peeves, and maybe Riley can share some pet peeves too, but one of mine is, my biggest one is when you go to an author website and there's so much stuff on the homepage, like parts of blogs and social media, like maybe their Instagram is on there and they've got everything's out of order and unorganized, and it's not pleasant to go to because there's just too much stuff going on. And I've noticed a lot of them, especially if people are bloggers, they have really old stuff on there. Like they have events from 2023 on, you know, that they're still listing on their homepage. So I would say too much on the homepage. Make your homepage concise, make it have the basics that would help you with SEO, like the latest book and your bio and praise and things like that. But you don't need to have everything on there. That's unless you only have one book. There's other places that you can put those things so that they stay organized. You have some other ones?
Yeah, I mean, when, we're just simply going through our potential clients' content or another author website, it's pretty much just consistency with your styling, especially when it comes to italicizing things, and adding correct trademarks. There are so many author websites that we go to, even winners of the Edgar Award, who don't get that little valued trademark R right next to that Edgar Award. And I mean, first of all, you might be able to get in trouble for something like that, but also it's just important to have those little details in place. Italicize New York Times, italicize Publishers Weekly, italicize your book title. There's when I go to an author website and see those inconsistencies, it's an automatic red flag. And we make sure that our websites are always consistent.
As close as we can. I mean, of course, we're going to miss things. Everybody's going to miss things.
Incredible website copy out there. So I'm just going to move over a little bit so I'm less in those.
Oh yeah, here, I can move over more too. So the other, I forgot that we're facing west here. The other thing that's a big no-no, and I just went to a site of an author who I really like her books very much. And so I went to see what was coming, what not one of our clients. And she had like bright green, like lime green type on a red background. I was like, it was so uncomfortable to read, and I had to get off the page. Like, I'm not kidding you. So pay attention to the colors, pay attention to so many things. There was one other thing I was going to say about that. Text not standing out, watch for typos, make sure the bylinks are all working. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Anything else you want to go over? Or should we get to some questions?
Yeah, I can touch on, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of questions already, and we can touch on a few things that I'm seeing up here. I'm going to start with,
Well, wait, I think Chris or Karen are gonna ask us the questions. Isn't that right, you guys?
Yeah. So, but before we get to the
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
I think you were going to show us some before and after website
No.
examples.
Sure. Hold on, Riley. I'll get it up on the screen share. And we don't have very many. We just took a few, and we didn't want to show people that weren't our clients because that would have been rude, you know. So, you want me to talk?
Sure.
So, yeah. So Kathleen Donnelly came to us several years ago. She's become a really good friend as well as a client. And her site was not terrible. You can see a little image of it on the left there. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of boring. And she writes about canine, she used to be a canine handler. So she writes canine mysteries, and they're set in Colorado. And so you can go ahead and click on her site. So we built her a site that looks very Colorado-ish. And, she has a lot of great praise. She has a couple of series going on now. So we have all these ways to get to where people need to go right here on the homepage. And that's a good way to do that one.
I think another thing you'll see with these examples is just what Maddie was talking about is our dedication to color and a consistency with color. When we start a website design, I receive what we call in our business a color chart, which is simply just a list of only 5 colors that are all kind of cohesive together. And basically it's the cornerstone of the beginning of the design of the site.
Yeah. And if like, just in case you have this as a question, if you say you just have one book and we're designing that site for that one book, and then your next book looks completely different, we can take the website, and it's not that big of a deal because we're not doing it. It's not every single place you see pink on a site, we have to change it there. We use what's called a style sheet, and we can just go, oh my gosh, we got to get rid of this light pink and change it to dark red or whatever. And it's a simple change. Jen McKinley is another example. Her site, actually, to be honest, her original site was so incredibly difficult to read. And she had sidebars that kind of like stopped in the middle when the text would stop. And it was really difficult. And she is such a great writer and is so prolific. Like, look at the website that we recreated for her. Look at all those choices at the top. She has so many series that are long running series that we put a little extra navigation in there so that people could go straight to that, shop mysteries or the fantasies or whatever.
And someone did write in the comments about someone who writes under many different genres. While Jen is very pink focused on this site, she just released this new fantasy
and it still looks
series, which fits within what we designed. Sometimes we'll go a little bit more out in order to fit a different theme. But a lot of the time we design the site to be open to whatever
Yeah.
the client is.
And I always ask the client, like I said to Jen, since you have 50 books or 40 books or whatever it is, what are the colors that you like? And also, so she actually said pink was one of the colors that she wanted, pink and teal, I think she said. And also she wanted kind of a retro look. Like scroll down to the bottom of Jen's page just really quick. And so I went on, I want to talk about, that's what I was going to say. I wanted to talk about copyright images really quick before we move to the questions, but go to the very bottom. And we have this little cat there. I found this retro cat. It's like super fun. It matches her style. So anyway, before I get to the last before and after, I want to say about imagery. You can see that Jen's go to Anne Ursu, the next okay. So this one, look at the site, her original site on the left. Oh, sorry, he's going too fast. Original site on the left, and then what we did for her. And this header here actually merges between three different collages that I made. So you'll see that. So I had to buy, I think like 11 or 12 images. And then I also put like some bokeh over the top, but you can see how it moves. All those images are copyright free. I cannot tell you enough how important it is to only use copyright free images. You cannot just go to Google and search for an image and use it. These are all images that were either already free, copyright free, or I bought them. So make sure to do that. That was another thing I was going to mention as an example of something very important with the website. And this includes, by the way, images that you might use on your blog. We've had several clients get in trouble and they're mostly our historical writers actually, who have used a image that they thought was copyright free because it had been like taken 75 years ago or whatever. And somebody was trying to sue them for using an image that was in like a blog post from 2007 or something. So be really careful that everything on your site is something that you can use.
And that is something to be more aware of in this day and age, unfortunately, because of the power of AI.
Yeah.
Legal firms are using these crawlers to just scan the web for images that they might be able to get a few bucks over. And we've seen we've seen emails to a couple of our clients that are borderline blackmail, like as far as like
it does feel like
trying
that.
to get people to pay them money when there isn't a whole lot of legal claim. If you've run into that before, and if you do run into that, I would highly advise that you, well, first find out where the image was originally from, but maybe even talk to a family friend who's a lawyer or something like that to see about the legitimacy of it.
Of their claim. We've had a couple clients pay quite a bit of money and then other clients ignore them.
Before even reaching out to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So go to Barbara's just really quick because I don't want to miss her. So Barbara's another one who had just a black and white site, and it wasn't terrible by any means, but we just made her something fun that fit her writing. And she was just so much fun to work with and wanted something very dark and real thrillerish kind of feel. And that was a really fun one to work on. And then she has several series and yeah. And as we said, we like to put her books in each of these covers, of course, click to their page that they're on, and lots of clicking around. It just makes it really fun.
This is a good example right here of some extra information to include on your site. As far as the different usage, a reader might come to your site just to see what else you have written and maybe go straight to Amazon, but a librarian or a bookstore might need specific information, like your publisher, your ISBN, and the buy sites aren't always completely reliable for that. They can be, but this is another good centralization feature to make sure that you're controlling the data that is on your site.
Okay, I think we can get to questions now, Karen. Sorry that we talked. Hope we didn't talk too long.
No, that's fine. I mean, we can go till 3, we've got plenty of time.
I think we're done. And we're happy to answer some questions. And, I want to say up front, we may not know the answer to a question. And if we don't, please email us or we'll let you know.
Okay.
But feel, if your question doesn't get answered, feel free to reach out to us. You can just go to zuni.com and, click on the contact button. We're happy to talk to you, even if you're not planning on, oh, I want to hire you. You can still ask us questions. We're absolutely happy to talk to people and, have some ideas, go back and forth. And, we love what we do. It's just so much fun.
And I'm happy to just scroll down this chat and kind of answer as I see them.
Oh yeah, that's fine. If you want to start.
Sure.
So the first one, do you see it, is from Nancy Clements, and I think you did answer it, but start there.
Yeah, we touched on this. So you mentioned the organization of a website, but if you're not published, you need more than a homepage. No. No, you do not. If you're not published, as Maddie said, it's kind of important to just get your website live, so that your domain is up there, so that search engines start crawling it, and so that if someone, a potential publisher or whatever it may be, searches you, they can find you. Um, and we work with a ton of pre-published authors, and
Yeah.
we've brought them into publication, or we've had them as pre-published for a while. It's totally dependent.
Yeah, and also we ask them, like, if they have an agent, like some of our pre-published sites, they have an agent and the agent is sending it out. And in that, if that's the case, I always ask them to ask their agent, what do they want it to say? Like some of them say completed manuscript. Some of them say out for submission. Like I like to have the author talk to their agent about what kind of wording they want. We're not just making all these decisions by ourselves. In fact, one of the big things that we do when we get hired is we send out a very detailed questionnaire with lots of questions that help you figure out what you want. And we want to make sure that we're, yes, we have a lot of ideas, but we want to make sure that we're doing exactly what you want. We want the site when we get a site live, we want people to say, you got me exactly. Like this is exactly what I wanted. And if the client doesn't say that to us, I don't remember the last time that happened. But if they don't say that, then we want to keep working at it until it's exactly what you want. And, but we also want you to check with your agent or check with your publisher if you're published, we want to cover all the bases. I'm going to let you go with the questions.
Yeah. So will we be talking about price? The answer there is please email us. We do offer discounts for
We do.
Sisters in Crime members, and it's totally dependent on your content. If you're pre-published versus 40 books, obviously that is a very different website. So please email us. Also, the benefit of being a small family business is we love working with authors and creative people, and we will almost always be willing to work with you on your price.
Yeah.
So even if the email that you get back from us is maybe a little bit out of your range, please email us back again and give us maybe what you were thinking,
Yeah,
because
and more info.
we pride ourselves in being able to have that flexibility to work with you and give you what you need.
And what I've always said in all these many years I've been doing this, I always say, I want to make your life as a writer easier, not harder. I want to make it easier. And we really have fun with what we do. And so there's just a lot of different ways to do things. Like just as an example, Fred, that we had a client that had a ton of books. He wasn't, and a lot of them were written a long time ago. And it was like our original sites we always had the full synopsis and then all the bylinks. And now if somebody doesn't feel the need to have all the synopses on the site, like Blake Crouch is kind of a good example. His old, not that you need to show, but a lot of his older books, they just click directly to his publisher site or something. You don't have to have this enormous website if you don't want to. Even if you have, like, Michelle Gagnon is another good example that she had a site with a lot of pages. She started writing in a completely different kind of genre. And so we built her a one-page site that is specific to her new genre, and we just linked all of her old books directly to her publisher. So there's just so many ways to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question from Nancy: if you create a website on a Mac, will I have a problem editing it on my PC? No. First, with a little bit of an asterisk on it. We work within WordPress, which is a browser-based editing software. None of it is taking place on our Mac. It'll translate fine to PC. However, if you are looking to hire us, we are mostly a fully managed website company, meaning that we don't want you to worry about it or even edit it whatsoever. We control the design and the creative look of the site, and we've given authors access to portions of their site, but we want to make sure that consistency that we talked about is always there, and that
Things don't break.
things don't break, and the styling that users are expecting when they first visit the site is consistent throughout the entire site. But if you have someone build you a website on a Mac, and you want to edit on your PC within WordPress, and most other
Yeah.
website builders, you're not going to have an
Yeah,
issue
you'll be fine.
whatsoever.
Question.
Karen, when working with a new client, do you show your clients a few designs to choose from?
Well, I can answer that.
Yeah.
Unless you want to. You know, we have the design page on our site that you can click on and see a whole bunch, you know, basically all of our WordPress sites are on there.
And Terry put Zuni.com in the chat if you just want to click on that.
Terry, we love you. So we don't, so when you hire us, we don't do like 3 different examples of websites for you specifically. Like I said, when we're hired, we send you this questionnaire that has so many questions. I mean, it's not hard. I don't think it's hard to fill out. I don't think it would bother you, but
you can answer that at the same time.
Okay, so yeah, Chris is saying, how much work time does an author need to spend while first setting up a site with you? So basically they get, you get this questionnaire, and I actually do alter the questionnaire slightly from author to author, depending on what your genre is. I give you different types of examples, and I ask you a couple of different kinds of questions. But in general, I ask so many questions. I mean, nothing too personal, but stuff about your writing that by the time I get that, and then I write back to you a couple times with a couple of questions, we build a site. I mean, what's our percentage? We're like at 95% of the time when we show an author a site, because we don't show it to you till it's done. We don't make it live. We let you see it, of course, first, but I would say 95% of the time it's perfect. Is that awful? I'm bragging. I don't mean to be bragging, but we just ask a lot of questions. And so we know what you want by the time we get started. Timing is, we have done a site in as little as less than a week. It really depends. Like there's a, you know, usually it's a few, we like to ask for up to a month. But we work pretty dang fast.
Up to a month is if we have a wait list.
Yeah.
If we do not, it is
Yeah,
a
much
week or
faster.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's
Okay.
the next?
Another Nancy question. On some of your sites, there's a short reel on the homepage. Is that much more expensive than having a static page? No. We love making these reels / animations, or sliders is what we call them, at the top of the page, because they just bring so much more life to what someone is first seeing when they click on your URL. That is not an additional cost. It's obviously a little bit more time on our part, but it is something that we usually do by default unless you ask for otherwise.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions on the questionnaire. Do you like, you know, I give examples of some animation, and do you like this? And I would say almost everybody wants animation. It's just fun for us to do it. So, you know, it doesn't cost any more now.
And kind of back to Karen's question, as part of that questionnaire, based off of what kind of author you are coming to us, we will give you a short list of examples of our current sites that we think align either stylistically with what you write, or with the size of the website that you might align with. So you can pick favorites and pick different parts of each one that you might want.
And that's one of the other questions that we ask is, which of our sites do resonate with you and with your writing? And we love that. I think it's so important. I think what we're mostly known for in the 30 years almost that we've been doing this are we match the site to the author. So, you know, there's a lot of really good website development company. You know, when I started back in 1998, I'm pretty sure it was just myself and Authors on the Web. I'm almost positive we were the only 2 author website builders back then, people who built websites. And now there's, you know, dozens, hundreds probably of people who design author websites. And some of the really big companies that I'm sure you've heard of, there's nothing wrong with their sites. Their sites are good and they're nice looking. But once you get past that homepage, they all look exactly the same as every other author site. And all of our sites look a little bit different. Yes, there's like a Zuni style. They can still hear me if you do that. There's a Zuni style, but so people can go, oh, I knew that was a Zuni site. I want a Zuni site. But it's different for every author. We focus it on the author.
All right, Betsy, question: how do you make your websites more accessible to people with disabilities? There's work that we've done that's been specifically requested that helps make them more accessible. But when it comes to modern browsers, it is almost the same conversation as SEO, because it comes down to using your H1, H2, H3 tags correctly, and also alt tags and content. If there is a specific request on accessibility, we will do our best to do that. But as far as making the websites available on a reader and everything like that, it is about just utilizing your headings and your the way that you're describing images correctly, if that is applicable to the site.
Okay. So I'm scrolling down here too.
Body in the pool. Cool. It was cool. The small thing about that was
that's the Ephraim Seeger pre-publication site he's talking about.
Yes, sorry. I'm gonna bring I don't need to bring that back up. This, you know, and again, the age that we live in, this is something that we do not dabble with it all the time, and we get very explicit permission from the client. But
Yeah.
this was an AI project, and I was trying to generate
Just the image, not this website.
I'm gonna bring Ephraim Seeger's site back.
Can I tell
for
a funny story?
Well, I'm gonna.
Okay.
You can.
We'll let Riley tell the funny story.
Oh,
Because when Riley first asked me, can you still hear me? I'm assuming.
oh, sorry. 1 second.
Karen, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so when Riley first asked me, because Ephraim wanted this very specific thing, and Riley asked me, can I, I think this would be a good thing for AI. And I'm like, I don't want to use AI. Like I was completely opposed to it. But Ephraim was sending us AI stuff. And so that's why we said yes. So
In
go ahead.
addition, that this image is an image of his house. He lives in the bird streets of LA. Very specific view, very specific architecture of his house. And so we were using images that he gave us off of his phone from his house. And I went to AI and asked it to help me put a body in this pool. And I don't know if anyone has dabbled around, but that is very hard to do with AI.
I think you said dead body.
Well, even just body, that is inappropriate, and I had to go through all these workarounds that I learned from some friends as far as telling it that it was for an educational purpose, and then I had to reword it so that it was a man floating face down, not a body, stuff like that, in order to get it to generate the correct stuff. And it took so much work. AI is not just to type in and go, as some people might believe. I mean, for some uses, sure, but it's still quite a lot of back and forth. And just the man is generated, and then I animated him floating up into the pool, as you see on this site. But this is an example of, well, kind of the new age of imagery, if you want to go there. But we do not like going there all the time, because we have been doing incredible graphic work for that.
Yeah, and we have a client right now who's very specific with us. Absolutely 100% no AI use. And I'm like, we don't normally do that, but but here's the thing. Normally we don't, but a lot of the image sites now, I'm sure you guys are noticing this. If you go to Shutterstock or Adobe Stock or Getty, maybe not Getty, but Unsplash, they give you so many choices of AI. Like it's unbelievable. Unless you turn AI off on there, more than half of the images that will come up, if you say you put in a peach tree in the Georgia backcountry, you might get 50% of those might be fake imagery. And some of it is just, a lot of it is just awful. So
yeah,
in general, we avoid it at all costs.
All right. Next question, also having to do with graphics, from Rachel. Do you recommend having images and graphics for pre-publication? Would that interfere with the visual vision that a publisher might have? And expanding, I'm asking more about whether it's recommended. I've also heard that it might not be a good idea to influence the publisher's vision of the book and characters.
Well, we leave that up to the author. So I say I will do a holding cover for you using some of the imagery that we used on the site. We always make it very clear, cover coming soon, or not the final cover or something like that. We make that very clear. But we leave it to the author. We say, you can, first of all, most of these people are pre-published that I'm doing that for, but even not, like, we have quite a few sites of authors who they publish so often that they do have their own temporary covers up that we just use theirs. But when we're doing it ourselves, we ask them, do you want it to just be like simple black and white with no imagery on it? It's totally up to the person, and I'm happy to do it either way.
I think that it's, yeah, it is completely up to you. And probably up to where you're shopping it around as well. It might sell your book a little bit better in order to open up a site and kind of be given that feeling that we've helped you create, or that you created on your own. Otherwise, yeah, we can create you something very, very simple. We've also done incredibly visual pre-published sites that get changed completely when the book actually comes out, because the publisher doesn't listen to the site at all. We're not asking the publisher to follow the design of the site. This is just a beginning. And when Ephraim's book comes out, or Rebecca books come out, we might change that completely. And that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
All right.
But I did give you that one example of the time where the woman didn't have a book out yet. And I did something kind of fun with the font of her name at the top of her website before she was published, and they ended up using that font. And I mixed two fonts together and they used it on the book cover. It's kind of neat.
Can you talk about how long it takes to build a website for one? Oh, we already.
Yeah, we already did that. Let's go to the newsletter stuff, and I'm going to get some water. So you're the newsletter now.
What is a good average open percentage for an author newsletter? That's a wonderful question. What do you think it is in your head? Most clients that come to me want it to be between 60 and 100%. Unfortunately, the best newsletter opening percentage that we have is usually 40 to 50%
At the most.
at the most. It's again, this is a great reason to use companies like MailerLite and MailChimp in order for them to view those analytics. And if you want to boost those numbers up, especially if you've been writing for a while and your newsletter open rate is still kind of measly, you need to get rid of the people who aren't opening your newsletter. We have clients who are really active about doing that. And like Nicole Burnham, we've gotten her opening percentage up into the 60s, but that's taken work at least multiple times a year from her removing the people that don't interact with her newsletters. And that's really important because some people just sign up and they forget about it, or they sign up and it goes into their spam. And
Or they sign up with something, they do one of the promotional things like with book sweeps, and there's lots of places that do promotions. If you sign up for the newsletter, we'll give you a free whatever. And they do it for lots of different authors. And one reader will sign up for 10 different authors that they've never even read before. And so often those people drop back out. So even though it seems like, oh, I got 2,000 more subscribers, it's not always really that way, because a lot of those people don't continue to open your newsletter. And then, like you said, they bring your rate down.
right. So how often do you need to update your newsletter lists? I would recommend, instead of just culling your list of the people who haven't opened, giving them some sort of last chance opportunity where you're selecting the people that haven't opened in a certain amount of time and curating a newsletter just for them, saying, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. If you still want to be a part of this newsletter, click here. And that'll give you an exact metric of who is interacting of that small percentage. And then everyone else who doesn't open, just get rid of them and you'll get your open rates back up. 50 to 60 is great. 30 to 40 is average.
Well, and there are people who are in the 20s.
Yeah.
There's definitely people. And oh, by the way, the other thing is how big your list is. Like we
Obviously.
have Chris Grabenstein is one of our authors. He's actually been my author, our client since his very first book. So like over 20 years, he used to write mysteries for adults and now he writes kids books. But he has how many people are on his newsletter list? 20,000 people or something.
25,000.
So his open rate, let's just say his open rate is 35%. Think how many people that really is when his list is 20,000 people compared to someone who has 260 people on their list and they have a 35% open rate. So remember to think about that too, it depends on how many people are on your list. And we will say that I think it's okay to say our client that has the highest open rate is Jacqueline Winspear. And one reason for that is she's been writing, she had her Maisie Dobbs series for, 19, 20 books, but also she only writes right before her book comes out. She writes her newsletters and they have really personal things about why she wrote the book and how her own personal history is reflected in her books. And people that just resonates with them. And because it's not every single month, not that we think it's a problem to send out a newsletter every month, because a lot of people do it and it can be funny. Like Carter is super funny. Marjorie's are great. Kathleen Donnelly's are great. So many people's are great. But if she's only sending it right before her book, people know, oh my gosh, this is going to tell me about the next book and I want to read this. So hers, we've had hers up in the 70s, 70 to 80. It's amazing. And she has a huge list, by the way, like 15,000 people or
very
something.
dedicated readers.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, dedicated
Maisie
readers.
Dobbs series is
Yeah.
Okay.
Where
How
are we
do
now?
you link your newsletter to Substack or MailChimp?
Not sure what you mean by that. What do you mean link?
Well, they left apparently. So Substack and MailChimp are both newsletter agents. They are the ones that are sending it. So you will be taking embedded forms from both of those sources and putting them on your website. So the other way around. Okay. Nancy, can you treat your secret room on your website as a chat room? That would be
Mhm.
pretty personal for readers to connect with. We haven't done it, but that is a great idea. You know, we don't, we allow comment, you know, WordPress is a blog website builder to begin with. So commenting and blogs obviously are a part of that. We don't allow that on a ton of our sites because it's kind of an open door for
Spam.
spam and
It's a
other
spam
things.
issue. But if they were
Um,
willing to like, you know, check their
yes.
comments before they went live, then that would be okay.
Yeah, and there's obviously policing that you can do there
Yeah.
that would totally make that work. And yeah, that's a great idea. Because that's a fun way to keep your readers connected.
Mhm.
I write in multiple genres for adults and kids. How
Mhm.
do I do all this on my website? What's a good example of?
Yeah, I'm trying to
adults
think,
and
because we used to have, Chris Grabenstein, we used to have a portal page where it said for kids, go this way, and for adults, go this way. And he doesn't want, he's just has one for kids now. He doesn't have one for adults anymore. I think, I mean, we've done it. We have quite a few clients, like go to the kids ones, because that'll, yeah, the YA and kids. Just give us a second here to look. So Kate Jackson, well, except that her site is just kind of for everybody. We basically, what I would probably do, like if you came to me with that right now, and they're very different, like if your kids' books are very different than your adult books, just don't have any adult books. Um, I would probably ask you how you wanted to do it. Like what we would do is we would probably have a general site look that was a little bit more generic. And then when you went into the kids section, it might be more kiddish. And you went into the, you know, clicked on an adult book, there would be you know, the designs don't have to be the same on every page. That's the thing, is that we do a different design as you move through your site. You can have something different as long as we're keeping a consistent color and font and a feel. Like for example, well,
Is this a good example?
well, I don't know if it's the best example, but again, I mean, it's just a color changes and stuff. Like Kate Jackson, I don't know if you know who she is. She writes for both kids and she writes Sasquatch books. And so we have like a little Bigfoot coming across the screen on the kid page, and we don't have that coming on the adult page. So there's just things like that that you can do that make it work that for both things. The only thing that we've never actually combined is kids books and erotica. I'm just saying, not a good idea. So, you know, we're careful, we pay attention, and we ask for a lot of, you know, a lot of advice, opinions.
That's
We
so do
did
you
that.
provide a list of questions to your clients?
Yes,
The
we provide a
questionnaire?
list of questions, lots of questions in the questionnaire.
Do you have clients who work independently with graphic designers and provide you with artwork to incorporate? When it's connected to their cover, absolutely.
Well, Amanda Boucher is a
yeah.
really good example of that. So she's a romantasy author, and she's been our client for 15 years or something, a long time. And she's moving from being published by a publisher um to doing her own thing, sorry, self-publishing. And so when she decided to go for self-publishing, this is her first cover, her first self-published cover, and she had a designer design the cover, right? And so the person who she did these covers moved down so they can see the header. I want to see the header. So I had designed this header with these birds that turned into stars with her name. I still used gold, from dark gold to like as if it's real gold, in a different font. And when we got this cover from her for her first self-published, I actually used that designer's font it was a solid color, but I made it into gold and copied that font. So that's a good example of working with another graphic designer. But most of the time we don't, like, we do it all ourselves. But there are cases like this that it's perfectly logical. Amanda's building her brand, and she's building her brand with an artist. And so
Yeah.
she's doing that. So yeah.
I feel like RJ, we have a lot of his. Do we have his?
Let's not
You-
show when we don't know, but yeah, I mean, I hope that answers your question. And of course, feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer to that question is if it's good, yes, we'll use it. But yes, if you want us to use it, we will try our best to use
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of the questionnaire. Like, what do you want? What do you like? What, you know, it's all the way down to what kind of fonts do you like? Do you like serif? Do you like sans serif? Would you like me to choose? Do you have opinions? Like, I really want to know what the author wants to. We really listen well.
All right.
Any other good?
Genevieve, once you develop a website for an author, is it easy for them to keep up with maintenance on their own?
Yeah.
I kind of already answered that. Do you give coaching on doing that, or is the idea that you would do the updates for them? Yes, the latter.
She said, I just think you answered my question. So she just wrote that.
Right. Okay. Yes. But if you do really want to hop in there, you know, if you do like a ton of events and you want to make sure that you're the one updating the events instead of having to email us all the time, yes,
We
I
build
will-
it in a different way.
I will coach you, but it is built in a different way, as Maddie said. in order to make it as accessible as possible for you. So it might not look as pretty, but it is editable, and I
Yeah.
will obviously coach you through that.
Yeah. Okay,
If
keep
you're
going.
just starting out, what would be good ways to get a mailing list for your newsletter? I've
Social media.
social media, also in-person things. When you're
Yeah.
doing anything in person, come with a clipboard and a list. Have
Yeah.
people write down their email addresses for you. And then yes, you'll have to type that up and send it to me or whoever. But people who are sending me constant lists like that from their book club events, from their book signings, those lists are growing.
Yeah, Hank Philippi Ryan is one of our clients. Again, she's another author that's been with me since her very first book. And she sends us we do her monthly newsletters for her. And we don't have to, you can do your own, but she's someone that we do it for her. And she sends us at least 2 or 3 lists every month of people. And she does it from a sign-up form. She does a lot of events, and she brings that sign-up form to every event. And that's permission. I mean, that's getting permission from the client. I mean, from the reader. It's a fabulous thing to do. Bring them to events. Post on social media. And when you post on social media, please sign up for my newsletter, because like Riley had said, so many authors do that now, right? You want to write, at least in my opinion, you would want to write, I promise not to inundate your inbox. Like, I'm only going to be sending quarterly or whatever, or it's always going to be something funny, or, give them another reason.
Or magnet. Yeah. Give them
a reader magnet.
Something specific to
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And back to magnets for a second, because I forgot to mention this before. There's great ways of running magnets completely through your newsletter service, meaning that when someone subscribes, they can automatically receive an email with whatever content you might want them to receive. These automations are usually a part of the free part of these programs, but sometimes they're annoyingly behind a paywall. That's kind of why we do things on the site, in order to better control that process. But we do have a lot of really great automations where someone signs up and you can say, like, a day later, or a few minutes later or whatever, they receive an email or a series of emails that walk them through either their access to their page that you've made on your website, or literally giving them an excerpt right then and there to whatever you've made your magnet. So another question from Nancy. So if you build a site that's only a homepage, will it be indexed by Google? I was under the understanding that this is the reason to have multiple pages, so you have more opportunity to capture someone searching. Yes and yes. You do want multiple pages so that it can be indexed by Google. I mean, just multiple times. If Google is crawling your site and looking at the different pages, the web that you've created. And so yes, the more pages that you have, not the smoother it will do that, but it does make it.
Know about that for sure. I feel like the home page is like the biggest, most important thing. I think that's like even if yes, it might be good to have extra pages, the home page is by far the most important thing, which is why we put a big variety of things on there that would bring people to you.
And is why, as you expand as an author, your site grows.
Yeah.
But again, SEO and indexing is changing.
Yeah.
Super quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of the short answer. Terry, thank you. You're amazing.
I think that's it on questions, though, unless anybody else, Karen, if you want to ask her.
Yeah, if anybody else has any more questions, please let us know. Either put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
Feel free to email us.
Yeah, definitely. Email zini.com.
Yeah, we'd really be happy to answer any questions. And this is just so much fun for us. I mean, I wish I could pick up my computer and show you how many bookshelves I have in my house. And I have, I've been, like I said, I have all of Ridley Pearson's original books. I have all of Jacqueline Winspear's original book. I mean, it's so much fun to be such a reader and for me, it's like my 2 favorite things are besides my children, are reading and color. Like, I don't know, you can't really see into the rest of my house, but I'm a very colorful person and I love reading, color, design, organization. I mean, am I in a perfect job? Riley, you're in a perfect job too.
Well, you've given us a lot of wonderful tips and information, and I appreciate everyone coming today and attending this presentation. So last chance, anybody have any other questions?
And thank you so much for joining in. It really means a lot to us to see so many faces on here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been a lot of fun.
And this was our first, like we said, we've been on panels and stuff, but this is our first Zoom, just the 2 of us talking about this kind of thing. And we really appreciate Chris and Karen and Rick asking us to do this and for all of you coming.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Terry, again for
Yeah.
all the notes on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're,
Appreciate
you're
it.
cheerleader down there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great
everyone.
day. Oh, go ahead, Riley.
No, I'm just saying thank you.
Okay. Well, have a great
Great.
day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.